think we'll go ahead and get started. If everybody rise, we'll do the prayer and then.
Let us pray. Dear God, as we work tonight for our city, help each of us to bring a servant heart, knowing that we are here to work for everyone who lives in our city, from the youngest to the oldest, from the person who has the least to the one who has the most. Encourage us and others to work with charity, love, and respect, lifting us up to make the best decisions for our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and do a roll call.
Allers.
Present.
Allen. Hazelton.
Here.
Joe. Here. Canfield. Lester.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Neely.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Young.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, takes us to item 3, adoption of the agenda. If you remember, we added a 4B, so it would be an adoption with that change made to the agenda.
Motion to approve with the amended. Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, takes us to miscellaneous agenda items. Item 4, first is A, and we are so fortunate to have one of our high school students here with us, Cadence Hall. She's the 2025 state archery champion. So I'll invite Cadence up and you can go ahead. And also, she sang the national anthem at the Renegades game on Saturday night and did an amazing job. So multi-talented. Welcome.
Hi. This is scary.
It is scary. I don't blame you. But just tell us a little bit about what you went through in the archery. I think some of us are fascinated with archery and maybe have never done it, but
Yeah.
kind of walk us through.
At state, it's huge. I don't know how many people are there. How many people do you think are there?
There's 3,800 competitors.
There's about 3,800 competitors, and it was throughout the whole weekend. It's actually me and my mom's birthday weekend every year, so that's kind of nice. But I feel like leading up to state, I wasn't having like the best season, I guess. Like, it was all right. So I was like really nervous because I got second at state last year, so I was like, maybe this is my year, maybe I'll win. But yeah, I went there. I was really nervous, but yeah, I won, so.
Nice. What got you interested in archery?
My mom. I didn't really like it at first, honestly. I never wanted to go to practice, but I just started really liking it in about like 6th grade when I started winning. I think it's like the winning that like made it better. Yeah.
So was the state championship, where was that?
That's in Branson at the convention center.
You can change that.
Yeah,
I know.
We'll get a little bit closer. Well, you
Yeah.
brought some friends with you. I know your coach is back there. I don't know, Coach, do you have anything, or Mr. Dawson, anything that you folks want to say?
I don't. Go ahead.
Well, we want to say thank you for representing Jefferson City Public Schools in such a fabulous manner. Being a district of champions, we always like to showcase and applaud people who bring home trophies, titles, and chips.
Thank you.
The biggest competition is in Jeff City. We have schools that come from St. Louis. Hillsboro is the national champion. They compete here every weekend. It's all the competitions here, high school level.
I know we've been very fortunate. We've recognized some debate winners and archery winners and other sports, and it's so great the students we have in this community. So you're just a great representative of your school and our community, and we thank you very much. I'm going to come around front. I'll present the certificate to you. Notice she brought a little hardware with you, so if you want to grab those, and anybody you'd like in the picture. Yes, sir.
One thing that we did leave out is she earned a scholarship for the college of her choice in addition to this state championship, so we definitely want to applaud that as well.
Wow.
I didn't bring my bow, but I also want a bow.
Who'd you shoot?
294 out of 300. My mom. They spelled my name right.
They pronounced it right this time.
Yeah.
Got mine.
Got several. You go.
I'll get it over for one.
Does Coach want to get in?
Yeah, Ken.
Ken?
Ken.
Coach.
Looks like he has other duties right now.
Sorry, I was lying.
Get next year's star athlete there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, and we have another exciting presentation tonight. You might have noticed some of my colleagues. I'm a proud member of the Host Lions Club here. It's our 100th anniversary, so I'm not sure who's going to lead it off, but anybody and everybody's welcome to come up to the podium. And Mr. President,
Yes, I'm the president this year.
if you would just identify yourself from our friends at home, but thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. My name's Charlie Lindquist, and I am the 100th president of the Jefferson City Host Lions Club this year. And this year is our 100th anniversary. We've had a mutually beneficial relationship with the city of Jefferson for 100 years, and we hope to continue that for the next 100 if the Lord tarries.
Well, great. Well, I know you've got some other very active members there. Any comments anyone wants to make? I know you do a lot of work with our club. Anything you'd like to comment on?
Well, I'd like to showcase, if some of you don't know, some of the big events that we do in our community. We are very big in division, and Janice heads a team that goes and checks kids' sight at daycares, elementary schools,
Back to school fairs.
back-to-school fairs.
We screened the last few years, each year, we screened almost 5,000 children here in Jefferson City. And it's so important that these kids get a good start in life to be able to see well so they can do well in life. So that's one of our passions of the Lions.
In 1925, Helen Keller challenged the Lions to be Knights of the Blind, and we take that pretty seriously here in Jeff City.
I know we had the privilege of selling peanuts a couple of weeks ago, and I would get a chance to ring a bell in December.
And not only the children are important to us, but we've also, the club has done several things throughout the city that benefits all the citizens of Jefferson City. The Green Trail, Greenway Trail, you know, the restroom facility was built by our Lions Club. And then we put a bridge out there to extend the walkway. We put, just the last few years, put a water oasis out there for people on the walkway to get a drink of water, and they may be able to get a drink of water for the children. I mean, the ice arena, the parks, you know, that's where all of that got started, through the Host Lions Club. So we're really proud of our 100 years anniversary.
I know, Charlie, you've been very active, and Janet and everyone. Chief is a member. Chief Schofield is a member. Our former council member Mark Schreiber is a member. So it's a
Chris Lytle is a member.
Yeah.
And our own mayor is a member of our club.
Yep.
And we've got an event coming up not this weekend, but next weekend.
Right.
So the official day of our founding was June 11th, 1925. So fortunately, you're proclaiming that Lions Day here in Jefferson City, and I'll let you do your part.
We'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and anybody that would like to join, I'm sure Chief would take them up on it.
Most of the time, he doesn't have his vest.
That's all right, we make him wear that. Well, the proclamation says, whereas Jefferson City Host Lion Club has been dedicated part of our community since its founding on June 11th, 1925, and whereas for nearly a century the club has upheld the mission of Lions Clubs International, demonstrating a steadfast commitment to service, leadership, and improving the lives of those in need, and whereas the Jefferson City Host Lions have contributed to numerous charitable events, including vision screenings, educational scholarships, community outreach programs that enhance the quality of life for our residents, and whereas the members of the Jefferson City Host Lions Club embody the spirit of volunteerism and civic engagement, strengthening our community through their compassion, generosity, and dedication, and whereas the City of Jefferson wishes to recognize and honor the Jefferson City Host Lions Club for its outstanding service and lasting impact. Now therefore, I, Ron Fitzwater, Mayor of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, do hereby proclaim June 11th, 2025 as Jefferson City Host Lions Day in the City of Jefferson. So congratulations and thank you again for all that you did. One more time, I'll come down front and we'll get a picture real quick. Chief, you're more than welcome to join. I don't have a vest either, so. And Councilman Michael, you can be with Council. I would like to do it.
Stand by and Lyle.
Stand behind me.
Thank you. I'm just glad they didn't ask Keith in the first verse.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, got to put you on the spot. No problem. You can handle it.
Hopefully it turned out all right. All right, that's all we did.
Thank you again to our guests, and I know they've got a board meeting or some activity. Charlie keeps them
Our
hustling.
final meeting before the 100th anniversary.
There you go.
Then I'll wrap it up.
All right. Well, thanks for working with us on that. That takes us to opportunity for public comment. I do not believe we had anybody signed up. So we'll go to public hearings. Item 6, there are none. Takes us to item 7, appointments by the mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. In the last administration meeting, we looked over the slate that you had set up to us and approved it by the 4-0 vote with it. I see Mr. Heckenberg here, who I got to meet today at the first Airport Advisory Committee meeting I went to, and I know a couple other people that are on this list. I think Mr. Schwartz was here. I saw Jason, there he is, Mr. Schwartz is here. And so I think it's a very good slate. It passed 4-0 out of the administration meeting. So I motion that we approve the slate and go ahead.
Second it.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much, and thank you, our volunteers. We appreciate your work and your service to the city. Takes us to presentations from staff and consultants. We typically do a financial update, so Ms. Perry, pass the
Mr. Mayor.
to you.
So what you have in your packet tonight is the standard report that we'll present at the first council meeting of every month, just a brief financial update. First page that you have is sales tax collections. This would be for the receipt period of May 2025. And you can see here that, as we've discussed in the past, the sales tax collections for the general sales tax are still under the budget projections. The variance has been shrinking, which we hope to continue to see. But at this point, year to date, the sales tax projections, the sales tax collections are approximately $141,000 below the budget. For capital improvement sales tax, it is approximately $150,000 below the budget projections. For the parks sales tax, it's approximately $150,000 below projections. And then the public safety tax is just over $76,000 below projections. The next 4 pages that you have in the packet are just a breakdown of those individual sales tax numbers. If we go on to the next page, which is the revenue model report, I'd like to just kind of call attention to the fact that, again, here's that sales tax figure that we just talked about, the shortage of $141,000. We are hoping that that corrects itself to some degree as we continue on, but we are continuing to watch the numbers. You can see there that other things are over budget or over the budget projections, and so we are anticipating that even though the sales tax in the general fund is coming in under projection, that the other revenue items are coming in over projection, so we should be able to make up a significant portion, if not all of it, in the general fund. That, of course, will not apply to the sales tax fund, the parks fund, or the public safety tax fund, so we'll need to continue to watch those. I did have some questions from a council member in regards to things like sales tax, the marijuana tax. There were some of the surtaxes that are under related to property tax. So again, these are for the most part things that are collected through the state. And so we are hoping that maybe they've got some kind of lag time that they've got going on with reporting and paying the city for those items. So we'll continue to monitor those. And then the last page is the estimated fund balance report. This is a report we've talked about previously. None of these numbers have changed because we haven't done any supplemental appropriations. So at this point, the anticipated or the estimated fund balance at the end of FY25, we would expect to be $909,000 over, let me think here, the $909,000 would be what is over the 17% that we're expecting to be within even FY25. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Councilman Thomas?
A lot was made in the previous council, especially in budget meetings, about our potential health care costs and where those were going to take our budget. Do you have any update at all where we are year to date with that subject?
So it's really hard to anticipate a year to date and compare it to the same time last year, because what we don't know is if the claims are being turned in by the health insurance providers at the same pace and being processed at the same pace as the insurance carriers. I have looked at the numbers. They seem to be kind of within the ranges that we had last year, but again, it's hard to compare that year to date this year versus the same time frame last year. I do still anticipate that we're going to need a supplemental appropriation at the end of the year, but how much that supplemental will be, it's really just too early to tell, because quite frankly, we continue to recognize expenses within the self-funded health insurance until probably mid to end of January of next year, before all of those claims kind of cycle through and the auditors are happy with us stopping the recognition of the expenses for the prior year.
So then, this year, so far, 7 months into our budget, 6 months where you most recently quit, you're not seeing any alarming numbers versus where we were this time last year?
I'm seeing about the same. I would expect that we are probably going to have the same type of supplemental this year that we had last year.
And refresh my memory, do you recall how much that was? And if you don't, that's fine, I don't either.
I think it was $1.2 million in total, and it was $750,000, I think, that came out of the general fund.
Okay.
Hold me to those numbers, but that's what I seem to recall.
Sounds about right. Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you very much. Takes us to item 9, announcements by mayor and council, Councilman Howard, administration committee.
It will meet this Wednesday, June the 4th at 4 p.m. across the hall.
Councilman White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The finance committee will meet June 19th, 4 p.m. across the hall.
Is that a holiday? I think it's June 18th. I think we moved their days to Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, wrote down wrong day.
And public safety.
Our next meeting will be Thursday, June 26th at 3:30 in the police training room.
Councilman Lester, public works.
Public Works will meet Thursday, June 12th at 7:30 here in council chambers.
Mr. Crane, you were going to just update us on the council retreat.
Yes, next week, June 10th, we'll be having a council retreat to go over goals and objectives from council members, as well as departmental needs and a few topics that will be discussed at that retreat. I think we're starting at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I can't remember what time.
And that will be?
We're going to do that this year at the link in the president's meeting room.
All right, so hopefully everybody has that on their calendar.
What was the time?
I believe it's 9 to 3.
I think it's 9, yeah.
So people start gathering, I assume, around 8:30. All right, that's all the announcements I'm aware of. Any other staff announcements? All right, the consent agenda, item 10, there's 4 items on there. We'll need action on that report.
Move to approve.
Seconded.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Takes us to item 11A, bills introduced, 2025-010.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning 80.04 acres located in the 3800 block of Rock Ridge Road from RU rural to PUD planned unit development and approving a preliminary PUD plan and preliminary subdivision plat of Walnut Hills subdivision.
Mr. Smith.
Yes,
welcome.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the clerk had read, so this is similar to other proposals we've seen, I think over the last few months, kind of a 3-part request, but essentially rezoning a property into PUD zoning, which then allows the approval of a PUD plan through council. And that essentially serves as that preliminary layout, that preliminary plat for a new subdivision. So this one is a 230 lot, single family residential subdivision. Located at the 3800 block of Rock Ridge Road. One thing I will point out early on is that when this went through planning and zoning, it was referred to as Rock Ridge subdivision. Since that meeting, it's come to our attention, there's another similarly named subdivision in the county. So we worked with the developer and they came up with a new name for Walnut Hills for this project. So that's how we'll refer to it going forward. Just didn't want any confusion with the public coming in for the public hearing perhaps at the next meeting. So just kind of a broad overview of the site. As you can see, kind of along the eastern part of the property is Rock Ridge Road. Follow that up a little bit further, you come to the future intersection of the extension of Wildwood. On the south side of this property is Route C. a couple things I'll point out is that this property does have two connections that were platted and constructed for street stubs to essentially directly adjacent to that property for the future extension of streets onto this to enable the future redevelopment and development of that site as we're seeing here today. The property is our RU, which is rural zoning, which is kind of a holding zoning for when something gets annexed until they eventually come around to what they're going to develop that property for. A little bit closer viewpoint, you can see some of the grade challenges for this site. It's fairly low down through the middle there, and actually there's been some identified issues on an engineering study for this area that the applicant did address and is aware of, so they'll be addressing that with their stormwater plans for this site. You can see generally a little bit low in the middle and high on the east and the west side, and you can kind of see that essentially in the layout for this site. And this is essentially the generally layout here. So as you can see, again, making use of those two stub street connections from the north, from that existing subdivision, and also from the west. Each of those then would also connect out to the major roadways that basically are adjacent to this site to the south and to the east, allowing for better connectivity between this subdivision and the existing subdivision to the west and north. So allow some alternative routes, which is really the purpose of having that street connectivity, is alternate means of traveling through neighborhoods and traveling through the city, so we're not all essentially being funneled down one street. A couple things that I wanted to note that came along with this proposal from the developer was some kind of design modifications. And so through a PUD, that's kind of the benefit of it. It allows a developer to ask for some flexibility within the zoning ordinance and kind of incorporate that into more of a unique design. And we've seen this quite a bit in the last year with developers coming in and asking for some reductions in things such as lot size and setbacks, things that are very, I think, relevant when we talk about housing and obstacles to housing. And in this case, and they've all been a little bit different, but in this case, the developer was asking for some reduced lot sizes. And so they're going from what would typically be our minimum lot size of 6,000 down to 4,000 square feet, and a minimum lot width of 50 feet down to 38 feet wide. They're also reducing the side yard setback from 7 feet to 5 feet, and reducing the rear yard setback from 25 feet to 15 feet. This necessarily wouldn't apply to every lot on this. They have kind of three areas within their subdivision of different housing styles and different housing stock. And so this would be one that I think is designed for kind of the smaller end of that range to kind of open up some additional housing options for residents here that would be smaller footprint, smaller sizes, lower entry point into some of that housing. So this area, again, is made up of three really types of lots. And so the ones that are really asking for that variance or that modification to the smaller lot size is here kind of in the interior of the subdivision in this kind of brighter green color here. So there's approximately 100 lots of the 230 that would be the smaller lots. And then as you basically move up to slightly larger sites, these are getting a little more basically similar to what we would allow right now within our zoning ordinance. And then along the outside, where it borders the existing subdivision, they've put what they are calling the Oakwood series, which again are larger lots that allow for larger size houses, which they have some models here, which we'll look at here in a second. So on the left, you can kind of see an overview of what those lot widths would be. Again, the A being the smaller ones at 38, but then the B and the C a little more akin to what we would allow through our normal zoning. So it allows a kind of a wider range of housing options within this one single-family subdivision. Part of the information provided at the public hearing at Planning and Zoning also was that the applicant and the developer did meet with the residents in this area. They took some feedback from that. One of the things that's not required per our subdivision or zoning ordinance is additional enhanced landscaping along the boundary. But based on feedback they did receive at that meeting, they are providing additional evergreen and other landscaping materials along the edge of that subdivision where it borders again with the neighboring property. As part of that feedback process from the residents and from that neighborhood. And these are a little bit of the design of those houses. So I think the question has come up, what is a housing, kind of housing variety that's going to be on a 38-foot wide lot? Well, this is essentially what the offering they will have for those lots. And so they do, per their testimony at the public hearing, they would provide kind of samples that people would come in and I think select from. So these are some of the models that would essentially be for those smaller size lots, again, a portion of the subdivision. This is, again, kind of the mid-range lot size. These are the larger lot size for that subdivision. So that's essentially the proposal in front of council today. So it did go to planning and zoning during a public hearing. I would note that there was a substantial amount of public feedback on that. All that information is in the packet. We did receive quite a bit of correspondence, and a lot of the comments there were concerns about impacts on that neighboring residential subdivision to the north and west, but also potentially some stormwater issues, not issues, but concerns with runoff from the site. At this phase, they haven't submitted kind of the final engineering stormwater plan for that, but essentially after the preliminary would be approved, that would be the next step for them to then go into the engineering phase, and we would review all the engineering, including stormwater plans for the site to ensure that it meets all of our stormwater regulations. And it did go to planning and zoning, and so they did review that, and they did vote 7-1 in favor of the proposal. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I was just going to comment. I appreciate the work. I mean, over the last couple of years, we have taken very seriously the recommendations out of the 2040 comprehensive plan, the housing study, which was released back in August of 2022. And I think based on some decisions council's made over the last couple months, I think we've got 300 to 400 units on the table that look like they're going to move forward. This would put us over the 600 mark. And I know Mr. Sampson has been very active at JC Rep and helping us convert those individuals that say, yeah, it'd be kind of nice to build in Jefferson City, and then we don't hear from them, to projects like this. And some of the comments we got on the last project was it was a little more mid to upper scale. This one clearly is across the range, which our big employers, our small employers tell us that we need in this community. So I appreciate all the work that the staff and, you know, again, JC Rep has done to kind of help us continue to lay these projects on the table.
And one thing I did want to add, and it did come up, I think, in the hearing, that there will be a traffic study that will be required to be completed by the applicant before this comes forward for a final approval. During discussions, they did address, I think, some of the resident concerns. They did offer to include something like a speed study that would include the subdivision around it. So generally, a traffic study is really looking at those kind of interactions with major roadways and major intersections. But in this case, they volunteered to go ahead and include that in a traffic study, and I think we've communicated with them that we think that would be appropriate in this situation. So we'd look at some of the streets within that subdivision and determine if there's going to be any issues with increased traffic and speeds, and maybe some mitigation that can go ahead with that.
I see your hand, Councilman White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to the lot sizes, have we approved, do we have any that we've approved prior that have asked for that tight or that small?
That small, 4,000. I do think that Savannah Place, we did have some smaller lots too. I forget the exact number of that lot size. We do have some regulations that allow up to 5,000 square feet in some situations. So 4,000 with that reduced rear setback, you know, they will be smaller lots, and that is something that I think, again, if you look kind of within the housing realm within throughout the country, is that they're looking really exploring options for reducing costs and kind of setting aside what I think was always considered to be the minimum, and looking at what really is needed for providing housing. So even though it's a little bit less, I think, than our minimum standards, the PUD kind of allows, really, I mean, we consider it, I think, to be a bit of a test case. So we'll look at in this case, what that 4,000 square foot lot is going to be. They've got a model they think is going to fit on that lot that they've had experience with. So I don't think we foresee any issues with that size lot. But again, it's something that any approval for something like that after this would have to go through this same process as well.
And what about the distance between? Because that's quite a bit smaller than what we allow now as well, correct?
So 7 feet is what we require on each lot, and they're going to go down to 5 feet. I am familiar with other communities that do allow down to 5 feet. About that point, you're really running into fire code requirements because they do have to be separated by a minimum of 10 feet. And so really they're essentially removing any type of setback that isn't required for a safety code. So we don't think we received any specific negative feedback on that proposal. Again, it's not dramatically less, I think, than what we do allow in certain areas in here, and certainly not really any different than other communities are doing right now, I think.
Thank you.
Councilman Eller.
Thank you, Councilman, for the presentation. Is that Water District 2 out there? And just driving out there, you have that great big, the subdivisions are off right behind the fairgrounds and all that. Has there been any about water pressure and adding all these homes out there?
I believe that was discussed, but I can't kind of bring that to my front of my mind at this moment. So I'll make a note of that, and we can get some information on what the water situation is out there.
Thank you.
Woman Joe.
Do we have a price point for the different levels of housing?
I think the applicant did have some information on that, but we'd probably allow them to present that at the public hearing. We don't necessarily, track or require that information for their application.
Councilman Mealy.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, thank you to staff for putting together the presentation. As part of our packet, there was some communication that I reviewed each letter or communication either in support or opposition of this plan. And something that I think came up twice was the way residents were notified of I guess it would be the PUD. And I think maybe 2 residents talked about letters affixed to a mailbox or stuck in a door or something like that. So Clint, could you elaborate a little bit how we notice folks these types of things and what the perimeter is, if we have a standard for that?
We do. So we, for situations like this that require public hearings, our standard is to notify all adjacent property owners within 185 feet of the outside boundary of the property that's in question. And we do send that standard mail, so it wouldn't have been necessarily stuck in a door, it would have been delivered by mail, and those I think are required to go out no less than 15 days prior to the public hearing date. Typically we get those out a little earlier. And then we also put notice on the property, a sign on the property, also alerting residents to the public hearing. I think some contact information in case they want some more information about the subject.
Isn't there also a notice in the paper?
There is. I should have mentioned that. There's a notice posted in the newspaper for those that read the newspaper public hearing notices.
Councilman Thomas.
Thank you for the presentation. Kind of along the line with the water, sewage is up to par for this?
Yes, I don't think, I'd have to read back through the engineering report, but again, nothing was noted that there's any capacity issues with sewer down in that location. We can review that within the engineering report and get a little more information on that. So.
Thank you. I know that was one of the things that was in a lot of the comments.
I think there actually is a pump station down there, and now that we're calling it, I think there is identified capacity within that pump station to service.
Thank you.
Councilman Rowell.
Isn't it true that your sewage and your stormwater runoff, that's all part of what you review as they move forward, assuming the council does approve it? That's something that is reviewed for adequacy, for correct engineering, all those types of things, to make sure that the subdivision, just like every other subdivision, I might add, has to hold to that. Is that true?
Correct, yeah, and at this stage, again, there's not detailed engineering plans for that site, but we do essentially have a development team, and they will sit down with the applicant, look at their plans. We will review the information we have with our capacity for, stormwater and for sanitary sewer, note any issues or obstacles, and basically pass along all that information to them. But again, really the preliminary stage is to say, as long as you can essentially meet our engineering standards, we're going to give you the go-ahead. Now they have a little bit of certainty to say, we'll go ahead and pay for those engineering plans to go ahead and put together a final plan for how we're going to serve this site.
So we can assure our Ward 4 residents that that work is going to be done just like it is with every other subdivision.
Correct. Yes, we have certain ordinance for our stormwater and for our sanitary, and they're going to be required to meet all those standards within
Just looking at it too, the Rockridge Road at C interchange and all through there. We talked to Campo. This is probably has something to do. We talked to Campo with that one going out west, Clint, about looking at the state's going to look at that interchange coming up. Well, with something like this in about probably a 5-year plan for this, would we be able to look at traffic and all that through Campo too? Is that, I don't even know what Route C is, if that's state, county, or what it is.
that should be
something that we would look at on the first traffic and all that.
Yes, for sure.
Campo probably.
We can contact our MoDOT friends and work through Campo too, and potentially look at traffic at that intersection.
And the traffic study will gather a lot of data, and so it's kind of take a look at the traffic's there now, and then the expected increase based on this subdivision. So it's a nice kind of moment in time of, hey, this is the traffic situation at this intersection. So it may not warrant anything at the time, but it gives MoDOT information to look at in the future.
And the Wildwood extension will connect at the roundabout at Rock Ridge, which will give another way for some of that traffic to disperse as well. So, Councilman Lytle, do you have another question?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mayor. Just one comment. The Route C and the Rock Ridge intersection, the reason that was going to take a particular look at is because it's so close and it's a blind curve.
Yeah, I think that was one of the intersections that were identified. And these are, I should point out, state, Route C is a state route and Rock Ridge is a county route. So they're all part of the conversation with that traffic study to make sure they have the amount of input they need in the study, and it's kind of hitting all the points that they needed to hit to make sure that their roads are safe and the intersections being put into those are in the correct spot.
All right, thank you very much. That will take us to item 11B, 2025-11.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, accepting and approving the final subdivision plat of Morrill Ridge subdivision, a subdivision of the City of Jefferson, Missouri.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Mayor, so this is a little bit smaller of a subdivision. So we have an existing site with a structure on it. They're looking at essentially subdividing this additionally to create 3 new buildable lots in addition to the one existing structure. So it would basically be taking the one parcel and splitting it into 4 lots. It is RS2 zoning. This is kind of the aerial, so you'll see to the south will be the additional lots planted on the site, kind of perhaps what you consider like an infill site, so really making use of the existing infrastructure that's there with the city, which is an efficient approach to development. In the 4-lot subdivision, the additional part of this was that they are requesting a sidewalk variance. They did provide some additional packet material as far as that request goes. Essentially, there are no existing sidewalks along Tanner Bridge within the vicinity or really within a broader range. So they are asking to vary the requirement to install sidewalks with this subdivision based on that they wouldn't connect to anything anytime in the near future. Most likely, if sidewalks are going to be installed in this area, it would be more a citywide project to do the entire stretch. They are dedicating additional right-of-way, basically essentially where the street is now, just never had been dedicated in the past. So we are able to obtain that right-of-way to kind of allow for any type of future improvements without any issues. So, this did go to Planning and Zoning, and it also received a vote of approval 8-0. be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing none. Go to item 11C, 2025-012.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Higgins Asphalt Company in the amount of $1,600,842.05 for the 2025 mill and overlay project.
Mr. Berman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Higgins Asphalt is the lowest, most qualified bidder, and we're anxious, obviously, to get some road work done here in town. It's badly needed. Looking forward to this overlay and future ones for sure. But we have checked the references, and they have proven that they are qualified. They actually have also been awarded Cole County's project as well, so they'll be doing quite a bit of work in and around Jefferson City. Any questions?
Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you. Can you tell me, refresh my memory, you may have told us this before, about how much overlay really is that?
This year it covers right around, I think off the top of my head, a little over, right around 7 miles. It's 20 lane miles, but that's about 11 lane miles of 11 foot width of roadway. So once you boil it down, you're right about 7 miles of roadway. So I would say that for sure, especially with asphalt prices have went drastically up over the years, that I'm hoping that in future years we can increase that amount.
And just a couple other questions real quick. And the money that we approved for the actual coating, does that go over the new overlay or the overlay that was done last year? How does that work?
So the seal coat will go over the previous year's overlay. So that will seal the asphalt that was done a year ago and extend the life of that asphalt another 5 years. So.
And is this pretty much all the? I don't mean all as in this isn't enough. I don't mean that way. But is this pretty much the extent of the money that we will be spending on street overlay?
As far as street work goes, we will look forward to hopefully a contract. I know I was talking with the administrator last week on a crack fill project, so we're looking to do some crack filling and crack sealing on other roadways around the city.
I know probably you and all of my fellow council members know the extent of concern that our residents have about our streets, and so I appreciate the work on it. I know that our costs have increased dramatically, but I know we're dedicated to working to find more ways to give better street repair. So I know that's an ongoing project for us.
Councilwoman Allen, I would like to add that our talented street division, they are doing a lot of work on these roads right now when it comes to stormwater pipes, any bad sections in that roadway. An overlay can only do so much. If the base is not good, our crew has to come in there and fix that section full depth. So there is a lot of work that goes in from our staff along these roadways. So you will, citizens can expect to see roadway, and probably I know are seeing work right now on these roadways from staff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. Takes us to item 12, bills pending, none. Item 13, informal calendar, none. Item 14, resolution 2025-2.
A resolution accepting grant funds from the Federal Transit Administration.
Mr. Berman.
Yes, this resolution would allow us to apply for a transit grant, a low-no transit grant to replace buses. We have 5 buses that are 20 years old in our fleet right now, and we would like to get those replaced. And this low-no emissions grant, if awarded, it's a competitive grant, so there's some heavy lifting in that grant writing that we'll be doing over the next month. But so, you know, if this resolution is passed, we will get that grant writing going and try to get some new wheels on the road. Any questions?
So are the buses full-size buses?
These are full-size buses. Yeah, these are full-size hybrid buses.
And do we keep those buses filled?
Depends on which day you're riding them. Tomorrow, I'm sure they will be pretty full, but there are times where you know that they're not completely full. You know, it's.
But we feel like a full-size bus is the best way for us to fulfill the routes we currently do. The reason why is because we talk about how ridership is not very robust in our city, and we know that our bus routes aren't the most robust bus routes, you know, in the world for people trying to get to and from work and everything. So I just wanted to understand the logic behind a full-size bus.
Well, in talking with our transit division leader, you know, he feels, you know, looking at these large-size buses, they've lasted 20 years. You know, that is quite a long time. The smaller handy wheels buses that we have don't last near that amount of time. Plus, you know, when they're full, they're full. I mean, are they full all the time? No, but you know, it is nice to be able to haul all the people when that demand hits. So he feels that it's the correct bus for those routes.
I might also mention, I think some of that's dictated by the grant funds that we receive, plus it already takes some citizens hours to get across town, depending on where they're coming from. So if they would have to sit and wait a little smaller one, it could be even more cost to show up that has room on it.
Thank you.
Councilman White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kind of a different thought process. So the advertising that goes on those buses, do we use a third party to gain those advertisers, or does the city secure those advertisers? Or do you know?
I'm not sure at this point what the answer is. If I could get some help.
That's Perry.
It's a third party. It is a separate company that takes care of getting the advertising on and then makes payment to us on a monthly basis.
Great. Thank you.
And I can respond to that. Councilman Allard was chair of Traffic and Transportation when he and I presented that, and some of the pushback we got from council and the then Mayor Landwehr was they did not want the city making decisions on what's acceptable, what's not. So council approved it with the recommendation that a third party be held accountable for that. So, and that was kind of at council's request, and I think it was a good move.
Thank you.
Did you have your hand up, Councilman Lester?
Can you say something about trends in ridership? Increasing, decreasing? You looked at the data from over a period of years. I know COVID had an impact, and hopefully we're back. Recover from that, but can you tell from the trend, is it increasing? Or?
It is, from talking with Jerry in Transit, our transit division man, he is seeing an increase in ridership. Obviously, it took a toll during the COVID-19 era. It is trending.
All right, thank you very much. You will need a motion if you want to get this on the table.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote on resolution 2025-2.
Allers.
Aye.
Ellen. Hazelton.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Campeter. Lester.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Neely.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted.
All right, thank you. Resolution 2025-3.
A resolution of the City of Jefferson, Missouri granting historic preservation demolition clearance for property located at 307 Clay Street.
Mr. Slip.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So a little background, there had been a request for demolition clearance that was reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission for property located at Clay Street, at 307 Clay Street, excuse me. The Historic Preservation does review these, and they do have the authority to approve or deny a request for demolition because it does exceed 100 years old. So during that meeting, there was a vote for approving the demolition. That vote failed. It was a 3-3 tie vote. Subsequent vote on the provisions that the HPC basically had as findings for why they denied that. So there's several provisions within the historic preservation section that identifies reasons why a property could be identified as being notable and then would be available for that HPC to recommend denial of that demolition, essentially. So they identified two provisions, 1C and 1H. Essentially, that the property has distinctive characteristics and that it is an established and familiar visual feature of a neighborhood or the entire community. So the request for demolition was denied. Code does allow for the property owner within 30 days to submit an appeal, and that appeal would be heard by City Council. So that is what is in front of Council tonight, is to evaluate essentially the similar information that was presented to the Historic Preservation Commission as far as the evaluation of that demolition review. The applicant and the property owner, Mr. Gradicke, has submitted some additional information that's included in that packet. One of the provisions of the demolition code is those criteria and that are evaluated, but the third kind of portion of that step is then that allows additional information to be considered. So in this case, I think Mr. Gradicke is probably proposing that the 3A within that provision is what he's going to be discussing, and that is that if the property is found to be notable, then the following should be considered by the body that's reviewing that. Number one is the state of deterioration, disrepair, or structural unsoundness of the structure, and the practicability of the rehabilitation of that structure. That's captured kind of in the staff report. That's really at the end of the packet. Again, the Historic Preservation did deny that, and that is essentially why it's in front of Council tonight, because the property owner has appealed that decision. With that being said, we'd be happy to answer any questions, but I do believe the property owner is here to present that information. He may not be here, actually. So, is that?
He was here, I believe.
Did he step out?
He did. He was here.
Well, maybe we'll pause for a second. See if he's
Councilwoman Young.
back, but I can answer any questions in the meantime.
I just have one question, thank you, Chair. If the demolition is approved, what are the plans for the land? Will it stay empty? Does he plan to
I
rebuild?
believe he plans to rebuild. Yes, he did have, I think, an identified builder that.
What's the time frame for that?
That I'm not sure of.
Councilman Lightner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I may have missed it in the staff's notes. Does the staff believe, or is there belief from an engineer standpoint, that the foundation is compromised? Sub-foundation?
We do not review that or require necessarily an engineering review of that. That is documentation that an applicant typically would be responsible for providing, and that would lend, I think, credence to their, essentially to their claim that there is, essentially a cost burden for repair. So the applicant in this case has not chosen to provide any type of engineering study for this.
Councilman Mealy?
Thank you, Mayor. Just an observation, and maybe Clint, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when staff presented this demolition permit to HPC, there was staff testimony that although the property was on the 1900 Sanborn maps, that it could potentially by design be earlier than 1900.
Yeah, I think that's probably an accurate statement.
And then, do you know how long Mr. Gradke has had the property? Because I know it came up at the HPC commission meeting that maybe some of the kind of, I don't want to call it demolition work, but some of the cuts and holes and things were kind of like self-inflicted, if you will. Do you know how long the structure's been uninhabited?
I don't know if I have that information in front of me. So is he still here? I probably didn't infer the property. It's not.
Mr. Wells has looked and he doesn't see him.
And then I guess part of, if Mr. Gradke is here tonight, I would have questions for him about the provisions that HPC used to, I don't want to say deny the demo permit because it was a 3-3, but that's what it came down to, is a failed vote to approve. But it's been very public that the owner has been trying to sell the property on Facebook Marketplace. And so, as a council member, as a Ward 2 representative, as somebody who's, committed to historic preservation for that economic benefit, the feel of the neighborhood, the vibrancy of the neighborhood, the fact that we have an intact street there with early homes. Clay Street was a lot of where the Mill Bottom employees lived in that time period. I don't think there were notable, residents of homes that size, but there's certainly a connection there. I was hoping he would have an opportunity to liquidate that property. And so that's something that I was going to hopefully have a conversation about tonight. But that would be an ideal situation, is to keep our historic landscape in that neighborhood and be able to rehabilitate the home. Just to point out some of the estimates that Mr. Gradke submitted with his demolition request to us. I think he listed a $20,000 sewer replacement line. I mean, I'm sure council's had an opportunity to review those, but those are what was submitted to us, and oftentimes when you think about a sewer connection to a property like that, it may be a very different feel and a very different number than some of that information. So that's it.
Councilman Allers?
Thank you. Clint, did he give a rendering on what he would replace the structure with, as far as would it keep a brick, the brick kind of feel for what using a brick structure back to keep the feel for the neighborhood, or did he have any renderings?
Not that I'm aware of. Just don't think he provided anything at the meeting, no.
Well, did you get an answer to your question?
Yeah, well, thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman
So,
Allen?
to move forward, do we need a motion, or?
It's just kind of on the agenda, so it's just, you can make a motion if you want to see it disappear or it just disappear.
I just had a comment or a question.
Or did you get an answer? It has to have a motion and a second to get it on the table. It is not on the table right now.
So if we don't make a motion, does it just die?
So this is an appeal, so this is a kind of quasi-administrative action. My advice is that there needs to be a vote on it, that the applicant is entitled to a vote at the city council level. So I would not advise letting it die for lack of a motion.
Councilman Lester?
So just had a question kind of about process. From what I heard about this, it sounded like the discussion of the reasons for preservation happened after the vote, which really seems strange to me. I certainly would have thought that would have happened before the vote. Anyway, I think that's a problem.
It is, yeah, and we've discussed that. It's a little bit how the ordinance is structured. It does kind of state in there, you know, that if it's found to be notable, then there will be a vote in determining what sections of the code are applicable that make it notable. And so I think staff was just trying to follow that process. It is clunky. I think I would acknowledge that.
I would think.
I think the response would be the historic preservation. I think they know the standards, and so before they voted, they were probably aware of which standards they felt it met, and so the vote reflected obviously a split 3-3, but then the ones I think that were felt that it was notable had probably already made a decision on what components of the provisions it met, so what the findings were.
I would just suggest that it makes more sense to have that discussion before the vote, and that's clear to everybody the reasons why you would vote for preservation.
Nope, it's a fair note.
Councilwoman Allen, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Because there is no engineer's report to really confirm that it's not sound able to be rehabbed, and because looking at the code related to this and the fact that there really isn't anything presented of any substance, it doesn't seem like, compared to what was presented at the Historic Preservation Commission, I would make a motion to deny the appeal.
I think
So
the
form is the resolution that's provided in the packet, so that is a motion to approve. So appropriate procedure, a motion to consider the bill, a second, and then if you are inclined to grant the appeal and allow demolition, then that would be a yes vote. If you are not inclined to allow the demolition, that would be a no vote.
And I'll amend my motion to consider the appeal.
So you're moving 2025-3.
That's
Your
right.
motion is to approve that.
To consider the appeal.
Second.
Got the resolution on the table. We're going to do a roll call. Does everybody understand? A yes vote moves it forward, a no vote denies.
Allen?
No.
Hazelton?
Yes.
Job?
Aye.
Campeter? Lester?
No.
Michael?
No.
Neely?
No.
Thomas?
No.
Young?
I'm gonna go with no.
6 noes, 2 yes. I'm sorry, Allers. My apologies.
No. Usually I like to vote a lot too.
7 noes, 2 yeses. Resolution failed.
All right. Takes us to item 15. Approval of closed session minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. We'll need a roll call vote on that as well.
Hazelton?
Aye.
Job?
Aye.
Campeter? Lester?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Neely?
Aye.
Thomas?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Allers?
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, and then new business item 16A, there's been a suggestion to cancel the July 7th city council meeting because of the holiday weekend, but we will need a motion if you're going to proceed with that.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All right, do a roll call vote.
Job?
Aye.
Campeter? Lester?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Neely?
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Allers.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Hazelton. Motion passes.
Okay. All right, we have no unfinished business. That brings us to a motion to adjourn and then to go into closed session.
Mr. Reed.
The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the public session and pursuant to section 610-021, the revised statutes of Missouri, go into closed session to discuss the following: real estate, section 610-021, subsection 2. Is there a motion?
Chair, I would give a motion to adjourn the meeting and to go into closed session.
Thank you very much.
And a second? And we'll do a roll call vote.
We'll roll call now.
Cam Peter, Lester.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Neely. Thomas.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Allers. Allen. Hazelton. Joe.
Okay, and we're going to go across the hall, so as soon as we get set up over there, we can proceed on. Thank you, everybody.
Correct.